This $40 million aircraft has become a 100-ton glider. The plane is out of fuel, and Abate is out of options. A crash landing in the sea is all but inevitable.
Both engines are out. That's it. Is this what you wanted?
Almost 4 hours after takeoff, Ethiopian Airlines Flight 961 has finally run out of fuel. Hijackers have taken over the plane and have forced the captain to fly over the ocean. The loss of engine power starts rippling through the plane. As well as driving the jet through the skies, the engines supply power to most of the electrical and hydraulic systems. Without the engines, the computer screens, automatic pilot, and many other functions of the plane stop working. Although the engines are now useless, a low-tech backup system allows the pilot to retain some control. The ram air turbine, or RAT, is the last line of defense when all the engines fail. A small trapdoor automatically opens, and the turbine, a small propeller, pops out. The rushing air turns the propeller like a windmill, generating just enough electrical power for basic flight instruments and controls, including airspeed.
Since it was power off, that means there was no electrical or hydraulic power. The controls were heavy.
The turbine doesn't provide enough power for Abate to operate the flaps, which would help slow the plane down for landing. Wherever he lands, Captain Abate will have to do so at a dangerously high speed.
Power of landing, the power of ditching, nobody's trained in the world. Flying over the water, you need accurate instruments. I didn't have any of the instruments.
Without engines, a large passenger jet can glide 18.5 kilometers for every 1,000 meters of altitude it loses. At 6,400 meters, the Ethiopian Airlines plane can travel for nearly 120 kilometers before it hits the ground.
One of the things that the captain's got to worry about now is with both engines shut down, the airplane's going to go down. It's just a matter of where, and that's going to be controlled by the pilot flying.
It's an extremely dangerous situation few pilots in the world have ever faced. In 1983, another 767 pilot found himself in a similar predicament. Air Canada Flight 143 ran out of fuel and landed on an abandoned Air Force base, sustaining only minor damage. In the right circumstances, a safe landing without power is possible. Captain Abate hopes to land at the airport in the Comoros Islands, but struggling against the hijackers on the final turn, he loses his bearings and cannot visually locate the runway.
I was within the vicinity of the airport, so I was keeping the airport in my sight all the time. Then through the struggle, I lost my position. I lost where I was.
In the critical seconds it takes to find the airport again, he loses too much altitude and doesn't know if he can make it to a runway. A water landing is now his only option.
He knew that he was going to have to ditch the airplane. He was going to have to put the airplane down in the water. How he was going to do that was now a different plan because he'd never been trained to do that, not with two engines out.
Landing on the ocean is even more dangerous than bringing a plane down on the ground.
If you were trying to crash land on the ground, the airplane would have a surface to slide across. That surface does not exist when you're ditching the airplane in water. The airplane is going to touch down on the water, and then at some point it's going to dig in to that water. When that happens, the airplane's going to try to stop instantly.
In trying to bring his plane down safely, Abate faces unique challenges. Planes such as the DC-9 have flat bottoms which would skim the surface of the ocean on landing, slowing down more smoothly. But the engines on Abate's 767 hang below the body. They could act as enormous scoops, grabbing hold of the water as the rest of the plane plows ahead. The force will tear the jet apart.
It was getting hotter and hotter, so we started to sweat because I guess the air conditioning system was not working since there was no power. And that's when people started to scream, started to panic, looking for life jackets, praying to Jesus, praying to Allah. Some ladies were asking people to go and plead with the hijackers, not realizing that it wouldn't make any difference at this particular time. We didn't have any fuel, and that was it. We're going down, but I guess at that time, you know, your hope is all you have.
Descending fairly rapidly. The plane is lurching wildly a couple of times. They're fighting up in the cockpit for the controls.
It's my responsibility. The passengers must know what's going on.
Descend and increase the speed.
It doesn't make any difference. Please. All the same, we're going to die. Please maintain calm. Prepare for an emergency landing.
Put on your life jackets, but do not inflate them.
Some passengers either don't hear the captain's instructions or decide to ignore them. They inflate their life jackets.
I heard a pop, 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 pop back in the tourist class. And everybody panicked and inflated their life jackets. I actually got up on my seat and told people, don't inflate your life jackets inside the plane.
At the front of the plane, Mo Amin tries a last-ditch attempt to negotiate with the hijackers.
No! Sit down! Mo had a desire to dominate every situation he was in. In a situation like that, it would be Mo talking to the hijackers. He would be negotiating with the hijackers. He would be, I'm sure, trying to get the other passengers to face these guys down.
But Amin's efforts have no effect. The hijackers are determined to let the aircraft crash. Almost 4 hours after takeoff, Ethiopian Airlines Flight 961 has finally run out of fuel. Hijackers have taken over the plane and have forced the captain to fly over the ocean. For the first time since the hijacking began, Captain Abate gets some help.
The controls. I need help. They're too heavy.
We told them, guys, now we are on the last point. You should sit down and fasten your seatbelts. They refused. I never thought I would ditch in my lifetime. I never thought I would lose 2 engines and ditch in the middle of an ocean. I never thought anything would like that happen in my life.
Last few seconds, I remember looking out both sides of the window. I could see water. And then I took the crash landing position. All these things go through your mind. I guess having been brought up in a Christian family, I said my last prayers. I said, well, if there is heaven, I hope I get out on the right side of things.
Outside in the window, you could see land at the last minute. And we realized that we were, for the first time, that we were near land, but over water.
I used to love that airplane. We used to call it Zulu. In my heart, I was talking to it. So I said, Zulu, you can make it. Now you should be able to make it. I know you'll make it. You know, I was talking to it.
On the beach, tourists are stunned. The horror of the crash is captured on one of their video cameras. The plane is flying at more than 370 kilometers per hour when it hits the water.
First bump, fairly gentle. And I sort of breathed a sigh of relief. Wow.
As soon as we touched the water, it was quite violent.
Then the second bump was like a 30-mile-an-hour auto accident.
I had a feeling the plane was not going to hold.
The third bump. And I said, uh-oh, I'm dead. And I blacked out.
Oh, my God. Oh, no.
The ditching was very rough. The aircraft broke apart into 3 pieces.